about safeguards, because if we know, like we keep on saying, if we know where the attacks are coming from, we should be able to protect, we'll be better able to protect ourselves from these attacks. So the next 4 or so points have to do with protecting the brain. I guess the number one, the most studied protection against dementia is physical activity. Physical activity, most especially physical strength training or resistance training or strength building. They found that helps the most. The more muscle you have, the more active your muscles are. We now know the healthier your brain will be. It seems that the action of flexing or stressing your muscles, it generates chemicals we get into the bloodstream that specifically strengthen the brain. So brain activity is strengthened by muscular activity, but it's not just about physical activity. The importance of mental activity is very, very important. You probably heard that those who have 16 years at least of education or formal education seem to be protected. Those who are constantly learning things, those who are constantly improving their knowledge on different things seem to be protected. Now, does that mean they're protected from completely? Maybe not. We know physicists, we know financial geniuses who are still coming down with dementia. So it's not a total protection. It contributes to it, but it's not complete. This is near and dear to my heart. Insufficiencies, inadequacies. There are things that your brain must have. Your brain must have these things. And for most of us, the rich and the poor, worse with the poor and the underprivileged, but even with those who are supposed to know better, who think that they are doing the right things, we find that we're not getting enough. So I have a list of about 7 things I call the big 7, which I feel we must have, and these probably have the most research behind them. I put vitamin D at the very top because that seems to be the most important, not just for the development of the brain, but also for the protection of the brain. We mentioned thiamine, B vitamin. Vitamin C has been much maligned. I see that as a problem. Vitamin C is hugely needed by the brain. We can't talk about that too much now, but zinc and potassium too are very important for brain function. A few things about vitamin D. We now know is about 40% if your vitamin D levels are optimal, not 30 nanograms per mil. I mean, the range is 30 to 100. But now neurologists who are treating dementia patients like Dr. Dale Bredesen and others are now saying that it should be closer to 100. I checked mine recently, it's about 83. I'm still alive. People are always like, well, that's too high. No, it's not too high. It's really important. It's really, they're now saying 100 should be your standard. So that's really important. I'm not going to read these out in full, but it just says a lot of the things that vitamin D can do in terms of protecting against dementia and in terms of helping with memory, processing speed, and so on. But it's really, really important, especially for we Black people who are, as a rule, deficient, especially during the winter. I feel it's almost malpractice. If you, as a doctor or healthcare professional, don't check a Black person's vitamin D levels, because that is part of the problem. All this, many of these conditions, vitamin D deficiency plays a role in it. Next one is insomnia, which was quite surprising to me. It was not part of the original Dirty Dozen, but the more I studied it, the more I realized it had to be. It was listed under, I guess, insufficiencies, but I realized it had to have its own spot, so it's a separate spot. Insomnia is very important. It helps in the recovery of memories and the consolidation of memories. Isolation too was a big surprise to me. Very important, social isolation. I love this quote. We cannot live for ourselves. 1,000 fibers connect us with our fellow men, and along these fibers are sympathetic threads. Our actions run as causes, and they come back to us as effects. We are connected. Now we're now finding out that people who are what is known as have social frailty, who are isolated, that leads directly to brain atrophy and cognitive decline. Who would have thought? That's scary to me because I've always been a loner. I kind of live to myself, and so most of my life I've always enjoyed my own company. I was like, dude, you gotta do something about that. Okay, I can't really read this. Last and not least, okay, immune dysfunction. Everything somehow connects with the immune system, whether it's cancer, brain problems, cardiovascular illness. The immune, if your immune is not functioning, a quick story. This professor, she's a professor of a neuroscience professor. She was studying the effect of the immune system on the brain, and so she found a way to knock out the immune system in mice and send them to a lab to do some testing. Finally, she gets a call back from the head of the lab saying, "Why did you send me all these idiot mice, these stupid mice? They can't do anything right." And it's like, she didn't do anything with their brains. All she did was with the immune system, but somehow it translates to their brain. So that's very important.